All right. So, and I'll write this up in the announcements, but for now, I'm just going to take you through it. So if you go to Calc 3, you go to technology assignments, you see the first tech assignment there. All right. Expectation page, there will be a discussion prompt related to this this tech assignment, so you want to be mindful of that. And I'll put that all in the write-up of the whole thing, right? So in the announcements, all right? So the rubric for the technology assignment, you know, you get the problem-solving perseverance, recommendation, explanation. Basically, when I talk about grading, it's you made an honest effort to solve the problem. If you do that, you're going to be fine, right? But everything needs to be appropriately solved and all that stuff, right? If you follow the steps in the technology assignment, then you're not going to be in danger of losing credit on some minor detail that maybe you're not accounting for in the rubric. It's just this is just here to kind of remind you that this is an assignment that carries a significant weight on your grade, right? So this blurb here, technology assignment is designed to familiarize you with that whole thing. That's a common thing. I just copied and pasted that for the different assignments throughout the semester. It's basically saying that it's a technology assignment. It's an assignment using technology that is going to support the stuff that we're learning in the class, right? It's due the day of the first unit test, which is a couple of weeks from today. So so you want to keep that in mind. You'd never want to wait till the last day to get started on it. I mean, a long-term assignment is not something you ever want to wait till the last minute to get going. All right. So your to-do list: access the tech assignment, create an account, work through the assignment, obviously. Discussion board, post early and often. Please do not wait until the last minute to make your initial discussion board post. You'll see what the post is before the end of the evening, right? So you'll see what the prompt is, I should say, right? Graciously accept any constructive criticism. I mean, that's common sense. And then turning in your assignment by the deadline, otherwise there's a point deduction, right? So click on the tech assignment, access the whole shibbity bangity boom there. You see all three of them are here. You don't need to do all three of them now. You just need to do one of them. So click on the one that you need to do, and I'll take you right through it now. It's very not difficult. All right. I would say that the thing that people struggle with the most when it comes to this tech assignment is submitting their work, not so much actually carrying out the work. All right. Because what I've had people, oh yeah, these are some fun things that I've looked up. The Dana Carvey stuff is hilarious. Okay, nothing incriminating there. All right, so Geogebra. I don't even know what Geogebra 3D calculator. You want to have an account. You want to sign in. All right. So save your work. Save it pretty frequently because Geogebra can be a little wonky when it comes to that. I always turn off the plane and turn on the grid. I think it looks nicer. I always, for my own purposes anyway, it's all in this little gear icon here. Go to x-axis, label. Now you can type it in. You type in anything you want, but it defaults, or the first item there anyway is a value of x, y, and z for the different options. All right, so it shows up, and I like to organize it so that the x points out at a, you know, if you're thinking unit circle, like roughly 225-degree angle, y roughly 315-degree angle, and z just kind of right out of the paper, but in a northerly direction. All right, so something like that. Anyway, I gave you all the line commands. Now you could try to copy paste, but I saved it as a PDF, so you may meet with varying levels of success there. When you type in your line commands, and again, you save your work, create an account, save your work, right? Because you're going to need to create a share file. All right, so if you want, you know, I'll show you. Save. It's going to ask me to log in. These are your options for creating a save account. I saved in with my, I logged in with my Google account just to make things easy, or at least seamless. Save your file with an appropriate name, like math thingy's probably not going to cut it. Last name, first name, tech A is probably the way to go. So can tech A. You know, there's two parts, so part one. Keep it on shared, all right, and then click save. All right, so now you have at least the setting saved. All right, so type in 1, 2, 3. But you forgot the A equals. All right, well, hit enter, you see it auto-populates. 2, -1, 1. But you forgot the B. It auto-populates. Starts in the beginning of the alphabet. All right, vector. But you forgot the U. You get the idea. Vector U is the first vector that it selects. Now you'll see that it writes the vectors in this form. It's more linear algebra oriented notation, but that's not a problem. Okay, we can live with that. It really doesn't matter how it's noting it in Desmos. Desmos, geez, I wish. In Geogebra, as long as it's plotting it the right way, and as long as it's performing the operations the right way, which it is, I assure you. All right, vector B. So you got those two vectors floating in space. All right, and you can see here that my interaction with Geogebra, I'm working on a laptop right now, much more fluid than when I'm doing it on the iPad. All right, and you can rotate, you can have a look at it, make sure everything's on the up and up. Looks pretty good. You can really rotate. You set it to rotate itself if you want. All right, we're going to construct the span. What a span is the field of area that would be created by the vectors going off into the unknown infinite without bound. That area created in that infinite triangle would be known as the span of, in this case, vector UV, but we're using A and B, coordinates A and B, right, in order to create that span, right? So we plot in points, the point for the pole, geez, get all this stuff confused. The origin, 0, 0, 0. So you can see C just appeared there. You can see C appeared, right? It's kind of faint, but it's there. Then type in polygon. Yeah, you gotta do some scrolling now, but never select anything from the dropdown. Just don't do it. Polygon ABC creates a polygon. Now you can turn other things off if you want, just to see what's going on here. You know, just turn everything off. You can see that little shaded area there. That's the polygon. But if you want everything else on, you know, just have it all popped in. But if you want to see, you know, item by item what it is that you're working with, that, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, you know. So what I want to do is kind of just get a sense of what this would be like in the infinite sense. Sense in the sense. I mean, the only way I could say it, really. All right, so what I do is I create a plane. And it really doesn't matter what I accidentally put a capital L, but oh, I already screwed something up. Oh, delete that. And then when things go haywire, they really go haywire. Command plane, illegal argument number P. All right, because P keeps showing up. Oh, that's why. All right, so check this out. And I wasn't paying attention to this, so it happened. When I put in polygon ABC, it automatically called it T1. So when I typed in plane P, Geogebra was like, we don't know what the hell you're talking about. You haven't told us what P is. We assume that you mean P is a constant. So we're going to create a slider for P. All right. So two things you can do. One, change this to a P and get rid of this. If it'll let you do it, that'll be fine. The problem with that is everything else is calling back to T1, right? So what we really could do is just start deleting, right? Get rid of this too. And then just make sure there's no reference to T1 anywhere, and create my polygon, but call it P equals polygon, A comma B comma C. Then it'll create the appropriate polygon, and then I can say plane P, and it'll work. The other option would be, and you see I made the capital L again. The other option would be to just work with the T1, you know, T subscript 1. Or actually, I don't even think it was a subscript. It was just T1. Right, that's fine too. You know, you could change the commands. You don't have to adhere to my commands as long as you get the job done. Right. Then we have point D101 that needs to come in. The whole point on this is to make sure that 101 fits in the span of AB. You don't need to produce an answer for this other than the GeoGebra work, right? So you're visually making a determination of whether, oh, typo, that should be a D. That's a typo for somebody. The vector C, in this case D, it should be D101 falls in that span. So I actually need vector, although if you don't put vector in, that's fine because it wasn't in the directions. If the vector falls in that span, then cancel. Then you're looking at a correct result, right? Like you did it right. It's supposed to be a checking component, although there's some typos there. So I'm not going to hold that against anyone because that would be just idiotic on my end. Right. So this should be D equals, and there should actually be a line command here saying vector D. But again, if you don't do the vector command, that's fine. All right. But this is the first part. All right. So you can save your work. There is a reference here to a Google Doc. So that's an important thing because there's two ways you can submit your work. There's another part to this, which I'll take you through in a second. There's two ways to submit your work. One way is to just submit the actual links on Blackboard, but people have told me that they sometimes have trouble submitting actual links. I don't know. I don't submit work on Blackboard. I just get the results of other people submitting work. Right. So what I've said was, all right, in lieu of that, create a Google Doc and create just one share link with all of your links related to your tech assignment work, and just keep that as like a single clearinghouse, and just resubmit that throughout the semester. However you organize it, as long as I get your links, I don't really care. Some people save it in a Word doc, but don't worry about this. You don't actually have to have a Google Doc. This is just a suggestion. All right. So what some people do is they save this as a separate thing, a separate file. It'll say saving. And if you did it right, it'll say save successfully. Otherwise, you get an error. You get a share link. If it doesn't come up here so that you can copy it, you go in here and you select share, copy it from there. Don't select embed, just copy the link and submit that on Blackboard. So, you know, we're in Blackboard. I'm in my tech assignment, and I want to submit my work. All right, so I would write submission, and then I would just pop in that link, and then I would get to work on the other part of it. All right. So then what I would do is I would start a brand new one. All right. So I could do clear, or I can actually just open, you know, like whatever. It depends on where you're at with this. All right. But I'll just hit clear. Although it might overwrite what I just did. So no, actually it doesn't have the title there, so it's fine. Let's see. Yeah, it's untitled. So if you hit clear all, it'll be an untitled one. You know, the parameters are annoying. You go through that again. If there's a way to enable the defaults, I don't know what it is. I mean, it looks like it has my x-axis, y-axis labels here still, but they're not showing up on the graph. So I'm not going to waste too much energy looking for that. Now, when it comes to the parallelepiped is really a parallelogram that's projected into the third dimension. So here, what I want to do is I want to construct that using Geogebra, right? Get a good feel of what that looks like. Since the first coordinate I'm putting in is not the letter A, I want to denote that with an O, so not a 0 and O, and then type it. It defaults to 0, 0. So I have to specify that I want it to be 0, 0, 0. It'll plot it at the origin. Then I can go back to 2 for -2. It'll call that A, 3, 6, 1. And 4, 0, -1. All right, and you're like, oh, I can kind of see the B here, but if you click in the open space, you can see the rest of them too, the C and the O. All right, so there's 4 points. All right, select points O, A, C, and back to O to create a polygon. So in order to do that, I'm going to click on this geometry tool. All right, you see all these different options, but if you select more, you see more. All right, and you can see all these different options. You know, there's so much, but you know, even solids. But we want lines and polygons. So select one that says polygon. Start at O. We want O, A, C, and then back to O. All right, that's all we want there. When you're done with an operation, just so it doesn't start a new one using the same command, just scroll up and hit move. Create a line parallel to OC through A and a line parallel to AC through O. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to look for, under lines and polygons, parallel line. So, and it tells you, select a point in a parallel line. So I want a line parallel to OC through A. So I'm going to select A and OC. It'll create a parallel line. I still have that same command on, so I'm going to hit O and AC, and it'll create another parallel line. Then I'm going to scroll right back up and hit move. Now, if I bring it out a little bit, maybe move some things over, you can see here it's forming up a parallelogram, except I have not indicated what the intersection is. If I try to click on it, there's nothing to click on until I scroll down and I find the one that says intersect. All right, I might have actually already passed it. All right, so we're going to select, oh, it's under points, so it's above. So points, find the one that says intersect, and then just select the 2 lines that you want to intersect. It's hard to tell on the screen. They go from black to a slightly lighter shade of black, you know, like a charcoal gray when you select them, but they do change colors slightly. And then now you can see there's a point D there, all right? So then I want to create a parallelogram. So in order to do that, I need a polygon that's going to go through these points. So I'm going to go from O to C to A to D, and then back to O. And now I have a 4-sided polygon, quadrilateral, in this case, parallelogram. Guaranteed to be parallelogram because I manufactured it using parallel opposite sides. Now, the last thing that we need to do is extrude it. We need it to become a parallelepiped. So what we can do, well, there's a couple of ways. Sometimes it's sort of a pain to use this command. If you go to solids, you'll see an option that says extrude to prism. They changed the command. Well, prism works, but extrude to prism actually works a little bit better. If you select, we need to be able to see point B a little clearer. So let me do it this way. I need to be able to click on B. So if you select extrude to prism and then click on the part of the shaded region that you know is only the parallelogram. That's the part that's why I put the line command here, because I know it's a little tricky. If you click in the part that's OAC, that could be the triangle polygon that we created before, or it could be part of the entire parallelogram. Sometimes Geogebra gets confused on which one you're clicking, but if you click over here, it'll ask you what your altitude is, and then, oh, okay, well, I guess you can't do that, right? So I guess that either changed or I'm misremembering. So it's not extrude to prism. Click in the area that you know is definitely the parallelogram, and then click until, or well, not click, but you say I can drag my mouse around, but keep going until you get to that B. It'll lock in, then click again, and it'll become a parallelepiped. Right. So the extrude, I guess, I must be misremembering. Extrude, I guess, calls for a number, but I thought you could have put B in and it would know it, but I must be thinking of something else. Right. Anyway, to get out of this, you click move so that you don't accidentally create that operation again. Now, if you move it around, you can see that it's kind of like a wonky cube where it's a parallelogram, but in 3 dimensions, right? If you go back to the little calculator icon there, you can see now that a whole lot more commands came in after we left this screen. We did O, A, B, and C, and then we left this screen. Now all these commands are here. That last one, the prism, is calling back to the polygon, which is defined as OCAB. I'm sorry, OCAD, which is now known as Q1. So if you know that polygon is called Q1, you can say the prism extruding from Q1, that base polygon, to point B. All right. The other thing that you can do is you just type in this single line command and it'll bring it right up in one shot. All right. So, you know, the instructions, I tried my best to make it so that it had a little bit of everything, but sometimes there's updates with Geogebra and my notes are a little outdated. So every semester, I mean, if you look on YouTube, you'll see like 5 different versions of this tech assignment overview. But I always like to take you through at least the first one from beginning to end, just so you see what I'm looking for. You know, because beginning of the course, people have no idea what the expectations are. This is all I'm asking you to do. So you save your work, you know, same deal, Ken, Ted. So your last name, your first name, Tech A. This one's part 2. Part 2. I'll save it. It'll bring up an option down here to share. So I'll click share. If not, I'll go into the little hamburger thing, click share, copy it from there, then go into Blackboard, paste the links. If not, I'll create a Google Doc, paste the links there and share that, or a Word document, paste the links and upload that, you know, any number of different possibilities. And then, you know, well, it's not going to save my work because I'm not a student in the class, right? But that's the idea, right? So let me stop the recording. I'm going to post this